Hey everyone, and welcome to What Did I Miss?, where today I'm able to share some exciting news about the return of one of the most beloved science fiction series ever to air on television, the serialized space opera Babylon 5. This story broke yesterday seemingly out of nowhere, and there's a lot to unpack, including who will be writing it, where it will be in the established canon, as well as where and possibly when you will be able to see it. I also have a theory about why this series is coming back and how it is connected to what Star Trek is currently doing with their franchise, so stick around until the end of the video for all this information. But first, I wanted to welcome you to WDIM and ask that you please hit that like button to help support the channel. I'm very close to 10,000 subscribers, so if you'd like to be kept up to date on all the news in sci-fi, be sure to hit that subscribe button and the bell. I just released a video about the return of the sci-fi comedy series The Orville, and I will leave a link to that here and in the description if you would like to check it out. Babylon 5 originally aired for 5 seasons from 1993 until 1999, and has spawned a spin-off series as well as a comic book and various other pieces of multimedia since its inception. Originally conceived by J. Michael Straczynski, the show was really groundbreaking in a lot of ways, not just for TV, but specifically for science fiction on television. In the past few years, there have been rumors that the show would be making a comeback, and at one point the originator of the show teased that a movie was in the works. But now we have word that Babylon 5 is getting a reboot, and that it will be once again run by J. Michael Straczynski, the man behind the series. I know that a lot of people are not fond of the amount of rebooted television series and movies that have been released in the past 15 years, but there have been exceptions to the rule, and it sounds like this new iteration of Babylon 5 is starting off right. First off, having J. Michael Straczynski once again at the helm of the franchise makes this seem like less of a remake of the original and more like an opportunity for the creator of the series to step back into his passion project with many more years of experience behind him. J. Michael Straczynski was not just the creator of the franchise, but also wrote 92 out of the 111 episodes that aired, along with 5 made-for-TV movies, and worked on all the novels that were released after the series completed, so no one can understand this universe better than him. Since his work on Babylon 5, he has been at the helm of 2 other television series, as well as achieved writing credits on blockbuster films like the first Thor movie, Underworld Awakening, and World War Z, as well as written a number of high-profile comic books for Marvel and DC. The man himself had this to say about his return to the franchise. As noted in the announcement, this is a reboot from the ground up rather than a continuation, for several reasons. Heraclitus wrote, "You cannot step in the same river twice, for the river has changed, and you have changed. In the years since B5, I've done a ton of other TV shows and movies, adding an equal number of tools to my tool belt, all of which I can bring to bear on one singular question. If I were creating Babylon 5 today, for the first time, knowing what I know as a writer, what would it look like? How would it use all the storytelling tools and technological resources available in 2021 that were not on hand then?" So to me it sounds like a man eager to step back into this universe, but that he is not planning on retelling the same stories again. One of the things that Babylon 5 is known for are some of the huge twists that occur, so telling them again the same way would obviously not have the same impact. He went on to reference other series that have been rebooted but not have been copies of the originals, such as Battlestar Galactica and Westworld. Warner Brothers are behind Babylon 5, and will be airing this new version of it on the CW network if the pilot is pushed to series, which it seems likely that it will be. This news may also have some fans of the show weary, as the CW is mostly known for franchises that are geared towards a younger audience than the ones that may be attracted to this show. This may be why the company has chosen this network to air the series, so they can attract a new demographic to the channel. It is also worth mentioning that this network is not behind a paywall, a topic that I will expand on in a bit. I've watched a few of the series on the CW that have to do with DC comic characters, and for me they have been hit or miss. But just this year, they released a new series titled Superman and Lois that is probably my favorite Superman series to date, as not only is it well written with good acting, but the effects and the budget of the series are right up there with any other network show. The network may be called the CW, but Warner Brothers owns it and they also own HBO. And in fact, if you want to catch up on Babylon 5 right now, HBO has all 5 seasons available, at least in the US. So I think that the company has placed the series there strategically, and it will benefit from being on the network more than it will harm it. I remember that Babylon 5 was originally released in syndication, which means that you had to find it on whichever network in that area had bought it. So fans of the show should not be too hung up on which network it airs on now. Another thing that Babylon 5 is known for is its use of CGI, and it was one of the first TV shows to use what was a new technology at the time. It made the show quite innovative, but since this was a new technology, sometimes the effects do not hold up to today's standards. But of course now the landscape has totally changed and virtually every series is using CGI. Because of these advancements, the show could be made to look a lot different once it returns, and once again be a pioneer in the use of this technology. If you think about a series like Star Trek Discovery, that in the timeline of that franchise occurs before almost every other series that has been shown, but somehow still looks fresh and new, and I believe that a new version of Babylon 5 will do the same thing. Speaking of Star Trek, it is not news that Babylon 5 and Star Trek have an interesting history. For those of you that do not know, there was a controversy when the show first aired that the Star Trek series Deep Space Nine was based, if not entirely, on materials that J. Michael Straczynski had provided to Paramount before Warner Brothers bought the rights to the idea, and then Paramount greenlit Deep Space Nine months later. It was felt that both series had a similar feel and format, as Deep Space Nine was the first Star Trek series not to feature a crew on the Enterprise, but rather a crew based on a space station, which was the basis for the setting of Babylon 5. In 2017, it was revealed that an out-of-court settlement was reached over the issue, but I believe that Warner Brothers may be looking over their shoulder now at what Paramount is doing with Star Trek and reacting to that. Mainly because the people in charge of Star Trek currently, which are Alex Kurtzman, Akiva Goldsman, and Michelle Paradise, have made it a point recently to state that they are turning away from serialized storytelling and instead are going back to the original blueprint of Star Trek, which was having the crews go to different settings each week and still develop their characters over time, but without the use of long arcs or storylines that take multiple episodes or even seasons to wrap up. Babylon 5 is a series that was created with a 5-year story plan that had a definitive beginning, middle, and ending. So fans of this type of storytelling may be looking for a new outlet now that Star Trek will not be trying to tell these types of serialized storylines. Also, as I mentioned earlier, the CW is not behind a paywall, meaning that it is not exclusively a streaming network that you would have to purchase a membership for, and all of the current Star Trek series are on Paramount Plus, which is a streaming channel. The older demographic of fans that enjoy Babylon 5 and older Star Trek are also the ones that are most likely to be against buying a subscription to a new streaming network, so having Babylon 5 on a channel that people can watch with a standard cable TV package gives the series another advantage over Trek. I probably have close to 100 comments stretched out over all my videos about Star Trek, as well as the Orville, which is switching to the streaming service Hulu from Fox, of people complaining about the need to purchase so many subscriptions to watch the series that they enjoy. So I know that this is an issue for a lot of people, and I'm sure that this is something that the people behind this reboot are also aware of. Finally, this series really has to be a reboot because continuing these stories would be very difficult at this point. Not only was the original story completed by the end of the series, but sadly many of the main cast have since passed away. This would require the production to either recast the characters, which would almost assuredly be frowned upon, or not to use them at all. And if this would be the case, then what would be the point of continuing a story that you are creating completely new characters for? Given all these reasons, and especially the involvement and excitement of J. Michael Straczynski, I for one am also very excited for this reboot. But what do you think? Are you excited for the return of Babylon 5? Well, that is all I have for this story, but thank you very much for clicking on this video. Please hit that like button if you have not yet, and I will see you next time on What Did I Miss?